Canada is the most multicultural country in the world. People from all over the world have come here to immigrate to this great nation. And you can walk anywhere on any street in Toronto and you'll find people of all ethnicities looking at couples who are interracially married or together is not uncommon. One such really amazing couple is here in the studio with us to share with us their secrets on what they're doing to make their relationship work. Join me in welcoming Dion and Christine Interracial. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
All right, so you've been married for?
Going on 4 years.
Almost going on 4 years. Yeah.
All right, newly married.
Yes.
All right, so tell us about your relationship. I know that you are happily married.
Yes.
And so what is it that is making things work for you? I know it doesn't work out for a lot of people, unfortunately, but you're obviously doing something right.
So I think the main thing for us that keeps us together is God. Keeping God in our relationship, praying with one another. Dion will often read scripture over me before I go to sleep. And that usually causes me to have an awesome sleep, wake up very refreshed. And communication. We talk a lot about everything, I think. Yeah, and spending time with one another.
Okay, so let's take one thing at a time. Communication. What do you mean by communication? Because it's a big word, right? And it means a lot different things to different people. So what does communication mean to you?
For me, communication with my wife is something that that's the whole foundation of our marriage, is the communication, and to be able to whatever we're doing, we need to be able to communicate. When we're having a hard day, when we're going through stuff, I mean, my first person I should always go to is my wife, because she's there. We're intimate together, and that means in every aspect. So communication is very vital, because if I don't have that communication, when I'm going through things or when things are going on in my life, if I don't have that, then what's the point?
So are you telling me that you talk about everything?
I think.
Yeah.
I
Everything.
think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not only what you want her to know, but just about everything.
Yeah, there's times where there's things that, for me, I'm not one to keep secrets too well. So whatever happens, I blurt it out anyway. But it's a good thing, because one of the things that I know, even if we're having something, maybe I'm just argument or whatever, one of the things that our pastor said is that, you never go to sleep angry. And that's something that we've never, there's times where we have, but we're working towards that,
Yeah.
And it's very important to have that communication. And I think when we have that communication, even if we're going through something, we know that we will work it out. But if we don't have that communication, things are bottled in, and it's destructive, and eventually something's going to give,
All right. And trust. I heard you mention trust. What does trust mean to you in this relationship?
So trust in our relationship means that if I share something with Dion, I know that he's not going to share that with anyone else. It also means too that if I'm going through something, I know that I can share it with him and know that he's going to give me godly advice. And it's not going to be based on emotion, but based on truth and what I should or shouldn't do. and that he'll pray for me. I can trust that he's going to pray for me and look out for me and follow up and see if, I'm okay with what was shared and how things are going. So I know that I can trust him and fall back on him in that way.
All right. So in any relationship, there are good days and there are bad days. So good days are good days, and we want lots of good days. Unfortunately, there are some bad ones that do come along. How do you handle a bad day?
For me, sometimes I have to come out of the picture to see what's going on. But for me, it's not too long. Like I think that's where we differ between her and I. She needs that long space where she just needs to go. For me, it's like I need to figure it out right now. What's going on? Let's work it out now. But if it's like something going on with me, then I do have to like pull away for a sec and just say, God, what's going on? Where am I at? And then I'm able to process and figure out what's, and then I'm able to come back into the picture and then we can communicate. That's kind of, for me, that's how it works.
For
Who
me,
says sorry first?
he says sorry first.
Always?
Most times.
Most times,
Times, yeah.
Yes.
And he's taught me a lot because I am the person to draw back for a little bit longer. And I've learned that not always is that the best way to go. Because thoughts come into your mind and they're not always the right thoughts. And that's not always the intention of the person, the things that you're thinking. So I've learned to cut back my time a little bit more. And learn to say sorry, even if I don't feel it's me, so that we can work out through the process a little bit faster and get on to having more good days.
All right. And you share a very beautiful child?
Yes.
Okay, so the reason I wanted to do a show like this is because families are not what they used to be. Couples are not together as it used to be. Marriages are not lasting as long as they should, because we all take vows to be married forever, and that's what the fairy tale understanding is, that we're going to fall in love and then live happily ever after. Unfortunately, it's not working out for a lot of people. So there's something that they're doing that is not right. And that's why I wanted to have a conversation with you, because even though you're imperfect people and you have your challenges, but you're making it work, right? Because a good relationship means work. You have intentionally worked at it. So that's what I wanted you to speak about a little bit more, is that how do you intentionally work at it?
For me, one thing about my personality that I know automatic is I always try to push no matter what. I'll fall down, I'll get back up. And that's something in my life that I've learned to do. So part of it is, no matter when you feel, there's times when it's like, man, you don't feel like I'll be honest, sometimes it's like you just don't feel like being married. But it's like, you know what, I've committed to this. And at the end, it's something that you have to work at, because at the end, it's reward, you know, and it's about love. And love is not just saying I love you and it's an emotion thing. Love is a verb, it's something, an action. And
that's important. Love is a verb.
Yes.
Yes.
It's an action thing, and it doesn't matter what I feel. I've committed between her and God that I would love her with no matter how I feel, no matter what. Even if I do say something or whatever, I get back up and I say, you know what, let's just keep going. And that's a work. That's where you have to keep going.
Right. And the other side of the word love is sacrifice.
Yes.
And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, because everybody wants love, everybody wants to be loved, but nobody wants to sacrifice.
Right.
Right? Talk a little bit about that.
Sacrifice. So
because it hurts. Why should you sacrifice?
I grew up here in Toronto, and Dion grew up in Calgary. So we had to decide, when we decided we wanted to be together, who would move. And I thought, my goodness, I know no one there. My family is here. And I need a GPS to get around. And even with a map, I'd get lost. And so we talked about it, we prayed about it. And Dion decided to come here. And he left children, his mom, his dad, his brothers, his cousins, everyone. And came here to a cousin and her husband. And they're not in Scarborough, they're not in Toronto. So pretty much he came here to no one, so he sacrificed. And I asked if he was really sure about doing that, and he said yes, because I know that this is the place of my blessing. So he sacrificed for me. I sacrificed for him too. I think when it comes to food, because food is very important.
Yes,
right?
that was my next question. Now you're both from different ethnicities.
Yes.
And both born here in Canada. But still, were there any challenges when it comes to food?
Yes.
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 Okay, tell me about it.
So he's a lover of pork and beef, and I mean that's what they eat in Alberta, right? The meat country. And I'm a chicken lover, I'm a fish lover, and so we had to come and combine somehow. And I slowly, not that I've turned away from West Indian foods and cooking, but I try to embrace what he enjoys to eat. And yes, I have cooked pork, and he loves it.
He loves it.
He loves it.
And you still have to work on it, right? But at least you're cooking it for him.
Yes.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
Were there any challenges that you encountered as a couple when you decided to get married, considering that you were both from different ethnicities?
Yeah, I think I definitely had quite a few, even at home, saying, different things about marrying Christine. And even coming here was a huge, because I knew I heard God, but then you have all these different voices saying, what you're doing is wrong, or are you sure, or whatever. And, but I knew I had to just remember this is what God has said. And I was just like Abraham. I'm like, I'm going to somewhere I don't know. And I'm like, I'm trusting you, God, because that's all I have, I knew one person,
That's
was her.
huge.
When I came here, I didn't know anything else, nothing. And it is a different culture in Toronto than it is in Calgary.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Okay. And so, were there any challenges that you encountered from your family, your friends, or was it easier for you since you grew up here in Toronto?
I thought it was going to be easier because I grew up here in Toronto, and it should have been easy. But I had a friend who questioned whether or not this was the right choice. And I said, I just know that I know. And I didn't expect it from that person. And he did meet, a few of my friends. And the one friend that I thought would be embrace who he was, didn't do that. It took some time, I think, for him to grow on her. And maybe she just didn't understand what I saw in him. But eventually she did see that. And she's come to love him as much as I do.
So the concerns that your friends expressed, it came from a place of concern?
Yeah, I think it was just...
Or just ignorance?
Partial ignorance and concern. Maybe just not wanting me to get involved with someone who might not be the right fit. And culturally, amongst most of my friends, the older ones anyway, they've married or coupled together with people of like culture. So this for them was very strange. But I think our relationship has grown on a lot of people and shown them that it can work.
That's right. Now, there are lots of people who watch a program, and I'm sure there's someone who's watching who is in an racial relationship, or is perhaps knows of someone who is in a relationship like that. What advice would you give to them?
For me, I guess it would just be when God puts two people together, it doesn't matter what their skin color is, because God created one man, one woman. And that's what it is. It's not what kind of skin color, but it's one man, one woman. we all come from different places. But the cool thing about God is that he's a God of creativity. So when you put something together, it's beautiful. And so if God has put those two people together and they're from two different races, then it's gonna be beautiful.
Anything you'd like to add to it?
Yeah, pretty much that. But you know what? If you just know and you're knower, a lot of people ask, how do you know? It's different from what you didn't know. So you just know that you know, and trust in the relationship you have with that person that you're building with, and try not to take too much outside information, especially if it's not what you feel in your heart you should be listening to, because you don't want to miss out on what God has for you.
All right. So there you go. Marriage is beautiful. Being in love is beautiful. And that fairy tale story of falling in love, finding someone to fall in love with, and getting married and living happily ever after is possible. There are many people like Christine and Dion who are living that dream. I know Jay and I are living that dream as well. So thank you so much for being here in the studio, sharing this valuable information with us. Don't go anywhere. We have so much more for you.